Okay, so let me ask you something. You say you want to manifest your dream reality. The love, the money, the career, the freedom, all of it. And I absolutely believe you. But there is one thing I want to know though. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust in your ability to create your dream reality and to handle it? Not the universe, not your vision board, and not the 1111 you just saw, which, same, I checked those too, let's be honest. But really though, do you trust yourself? Because if you keep breaking the promises to yourself, if you keep saying, I'll start Monday, and then Monday comes and goes, if you keep reacting from the old version of yourself, even though you know better, then babe, no amount of scripting or affirmations are going to save you. And I'm not saying this to make you feel bad or anything like that. I'm saying this because I used to be there too. This was me. And probably still am in some area of my life, if I'm being quite honest. So today we are going to talk about something that I believe don't get enough airtime in the manifestation space, which is self-mastery. What it actually is, why it is so important when it comes to manifestation, and how to build it in a way that makes sense. I have been into spirituality and self-development for a long time now. But somewhere along the way, I started to notice something that really stopped me in my track. I trusted the universe completely, like everything is working out for me, everything is divinely timed. I believed all of that. And it is absolutely nothing wrong with that in and of itself. It's absolutely beautiful and also crucial to have faith in the universe or God. But when it came to trusting myself, when it came to believing in myself and taking aligned action and following through on what I said I do, not so much. And that's when I realized manifestation without self-trust is like building a house on sand. It can look good from the outside, but it's deeply unstable at its core. Because every time you break your own words, every time you speak harshly to yourself, or every time you choose comfort over what you know is right for you, you send your subconscious mind a message. And that message is, I don't follow through. I can't trust myself. So when you then turn around and say that I am the creator of my reality, there is absolutely no internal authority behind it. Your nervous system and your subconscious mind don't believe you. And it is your subconscious mind that are actually shaping your lived reality, not your conscious intention or your morning routine, your subconscious. So let's actually define this, because the word self-mastery gets thrown around a lot. So I want to be very clear about what I mean about it and what I don't mean. Self-mastery is not waking up at 5 a.m., having this perfect morning routine or this perfectly color-coded productivity system. Although if that is you, hello, I am really impressed. But that is not the goal for most of us though. So self-mastery is not about becoming some robot version of yourself so you can achieve more. It's actually much simpler than that, but not always so easy though. Self-mastery is simply the ability to regulate yourself rather than being run by your impulses. It's doing what you said you would do, showing up even when it is inconvenient, being honest with yourself when something isn't working, and choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It's finishing what you started, setting boundaries even when your body wants to collapse into people-pleasing. It's discipline, but not in this punishing and shaming yourself kind of way, but from a place of self-respect and integrity. It's not really glamorous or sexy though, let's be honest, but it builds something that nothing else can, and that is conviction. And conviction is what makes manifestation even possible. Self-mastery begins with wanting, the willingness to see yourself clearly. And this is exactly where most people tap out, because it requires something most of us really don't want to do, including myself, and that is radical honesty with ourselves. So let me ask you something I really want you to sit with. Where are you outsourcing responsibility right now? Where are you blaming circumstances instead of owning your pattern? And where are you asking the universe to change without changing yourself? Because it's very easy to tell ourselves things like, he made me react this way, it's their fault that this happened, the universe keeps blocking me, I just need to learn more before I put myself out there. When I feel more confident, then I'll start. And I get it, I have said every single one of those things. But at some point, we have to ask ourselves, is that actually true? Or is this fear dressed up in a convenient story? Am I projecting my insecurity or fear now? Because you cannot master what you are not willing to see clearly. And I'm not saying this to create shame or guilt. This is about reclaiming your power. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, you stop leaking your power. And that is not a metaphor. That is literally what is happening when you stay in the story of this is not my fault. And here is where it gets really subtle, because the same pattern shows up in the way we speak to ourselves. We could be journaling, going to the gym, meditating every morning, but if our inner dialogue sounds like, I am so bad at this, I always mess things up, I'm so stupid, maybe I'm just not meant for this, then you are quietly eroding your own identity every single day, because your subconscious mind has absolutely no sense of humor whatsoever. It doesn't understand sarcasm. Unlike me and you, who are hilarious, our subconscious mind is not. It takes everything literally and as a fact. So if you narrate yourself as incapable, unlovable, inconsistent, or not ready, that becomes the blueprint your subconscious mind builds your reality from. Self-honesty then works in two directions: being honest about your external patterns and being honest about your internal narrative. Both matters and both will shape what you are creating. Now, this is not about toxic positivity or pretending everything is fine. This is about self-awareness. It's catching yourself mid-thought and asking, would I speak to someone I love this way? Is this how the version of me that I am becoming would talk to herself? And if the answer is no, then maybe it is time to actually change the way you are talking to yourself. This is a simple practice, but maybe not so easy though. So be patient with yourself. The truth is that you can't control the first thoughts that are showing up in your mind, but you can absolutely choose the second one. And that choice made over time is what builds the internal authority that makes manifestation actually land. For example, if you speak to yourself like someone who is unlovable, you will start to think and feel and act like someone who is unlovable. And you will then attract situations or people that will confirm that belief. But when you start to speak to yourself like someone who is worthy, reality starts to reorganize around that. As Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it, how you think, how you act, and how you feel is called your personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. When you change your personality, you change your personal reality. So when your internal identity shifts, your external reality follows. Okay, so let's go a layer deeper here. Because you can be self-aware, you can catch your thoughts, you can journal every morning and still find yourself reacting from the old version of yourself when something is triggering you. That is not a failure though. We all do it, including myself. It's more so a question of getting more self-aware around it. But before we dive deeper, there is a distinction I want you to understand. Reacting and responding is not the same thing. Reacting is automatic and unconscious. It's reacting from your old identity on autopilot and letting the same old pattern play out on repeat. Responding, however, is different. Responding is conscious. It's choosing how you want to show up based on who you are becoming, not who you used to be. So when you constantly react from anger, insecurity, jealousy, avoidance, or whatever your pattern is, you are just reinforcing the old version of yourself. And the old version of yourself will just keep recreating the same reality you are living in now. If nothing changes, nothing will change. So self-mastery here means not letting your mood dictate your standards, not letting a temporary emotional wave wipe out your long-term vision. It means having enough inner stability that life can happen around you without completely destabilizing you. And this is so important when it comes to manifestation, because your dominant emotional state is your baseline identity, and your baseline identity creates your external reality. Neville Goddard said it so well in his Feeling is the Secret. So let me grab the book. That which you feel yourself to be, you are, and you are given that which you are. So assume the feeling that would be yours, where you already in possession of your wish, and your wish must be realized. But feeling doesn't mean performing excitement or forcing joy. It means stabilizing into a state that matches the version of you who already has what you desire. Okay, now I want to talk about something that I rarely hear being discussed in the manifestation space. And I think this can be the missing piece for so many women who are doing the work but still feel stuck. It's what I call the identity gap. The identity gap is this disorienting in-between space where you are no longer who you used to be, but you haven't quite arrived at who you are becoming either. You have done enough inner work to see your old patterns clearly, and you know you don't want to keep living from your old self. But the new version of yourself doesn't feel fully real yet either. And that space can be deeply uncomfortable. It can feel like something is wrong with you, or like you're losing a sense of yourself, like you're neither here or there. And I have been in this space multiple times. I know how disorienting it can feel. What I have learned though is that this gap isn't a sign that you are failing. It's a sign that you are actually in the process of transforming. Problem is that when they hit this point, they interpret the discomfort as evidence that this is not working, that they are doing something wrong. So they retreat back to their old identity, because at least that is familiar. At least that feels safe and like solid ground, even though that ground doesn't necessarily look like how they wanted it to be. But here's what I want you to hear. The identity gap is not somewhere to escape from. It's somewhere to move through, slowly, with patience and with self-compassion. And the way you are moving through it is not by forcing your new identity into existence. It's by continuing to take small, aligned actions, even when the new version of yourself doesn't feel real yet. Even when you feel like a fraud, even when your old thought patterns are coming back, like maybe even louder than before. Despite how disheartening and discouraging it can feel, you keep showing up for the person that you are becoming. You keep showing up for the person you know you are meant to be, because you have such conviction in yourself. And that is how the gap closes. Not in like dramatic breakthrough moments, but in the quiet accumulation of choosing yourself again and again, even when it feels hard. So how do you actually build self-mastery in practice? Because I know theory is one thing, but living it is something completely different. And speaking from experience, the most important thing I can tell you is that please don't try to overhaul your entire life at once. And I know that probably is not what the motivated, disciplined part of you want to hear. But that part of you also probably started 17 new habits on a Friday and abandoned them all by Monday. And no judgment though, because I'm a multi-passionate manifesting generator myself. But identity shifts do happen best incrementally though. And honestly, they really have to, because your nervous system can only integrate so much change at once before it starts to feel threatened and pulls back into what feels familiar. Think of it this way. Say your goal is to start working out 5 times a week, but currently you are working out 0 times. If you try to jump straight to 5 times, for most people, that is only going to last for like maximum 2 weeks. And why is that? Not because you are lazy or unmotivated, but because the gap between your current self and the future self is too big. Your nervous system experiences the changes as a shock, and your ego finds every reason to opt out. So instead of going straight to 5 days a week, what if you just showed up once? What if you just went to the gym to take a look around and to get comfortable with the equipment and the space? Or if that is a big of a change, maybe you just even put on your gym clothes at home at first. Or you can simply just mentally rehearse how it feels like to be a gym baddie. Because what you actually need to train here is your identity. You need to teach yourself that you are a person who shows up. Self-mastery is really just this, keeping the promises to yourself no matter how small. Because each time you do, you send a signal to your nervous system, I can rely on myself. And when your nervous system believes that, your reality starts to shift. So now you are probably wondering, where do I start? How do I become a master? Alright, I want to make this really concrete. So first of all, pick one domain that you want to start working on, either physical, emotional, or mental. And I already know what you might think. But what if I just pick all 3 of them and then I will become a completely transformed version of myself by next week? Babe, I see you. But that is your ego talking though. She is very ambitious though, I will for sure give her that, but no. Just pick one for now. So start with one thing within one of the domain that you want to work on and master first, and then you can move on to the next. So if you choose physical, commit to one small habit, and no, not 5, not 3, only 1 please. Remember that incremental changes is the best approach. So maybe it's drinking a glass of water in the morning, or going for a 10-minute walk, or writing down what you're grateful for. Something small that you can stick to even on your busiest days or if you have a bad day. If you choose the mental, start noticing how you talk to yourself. Find one recurring thought that keeps showing up and limits you. For me personally, a thought that I had for a long time was that I am not smart enough. So just find yours and practice catching it first and then question it. And then choose a different thought deliberately, as we talked about earlier in this video. If you choose emotional, start noticing how you react in different situations. Do you, for example, always get defensive when someone is challenging you? Do you shut down when something feels uncertain? So just observe it first without judgment, and then next time it comes up, try to stay conscious enough so you can respond instead of react. And if you find yourself react from your old identity, that's fine. It takes practice, so be patient with yourself. It's getting easier for each time. And as you go deeper, try to understand why you react as you do as well. Because when you understand the root of the pattern, it loses so much of the power it has over you. But self-mastery isn't about control though, or becoming this perfect version of yourself. It's about alignment, getting your thoughts, your emotions and actions pulling in the same direction. Because when those 3 aligns, you will feel more powerful. And not because you forced reality to bend necessarily, but because you are no longer fragmented internally. And that internal coherence, that is what magnetizes your dream reality towards you. So before you ask yourself, how do I manifest my dream reality? Ask yourself this: do I trust myself to handle it? Because self-mastery builds self-trust. Self-trust builds conviction. Conviction stabilizes your identity. and your identity shapes your external reality. Manifestation isn't about controlling the universe. It's about becoming someone internally stable enough to actually receive what you are asking for. And that work starts within you. One promise, one pause, one aligned action at a time. Thank you so much for being here and for watching this video. And if this resonated with you, you can like, subscribe, or comment below. I would love to hear from you and to know what landed the most for you. So that's it for this video, and then I will see you in the next one. Bye, babe!